Is Symbotic a buy or a sell? Let's get started with the model. This is a large cap company, 22 billion market cap. They're trading at $24 a share and they have 913 million shares outstanding. Symbotic is an automation technology company that develops technologies to improve operating efficiencies in warehouses. The company automates the processing of pallets and cases in large warehouses or distribution centers for retail companies. Its systems enhance operations at the front end of the supply chain. Founded in 2006, headquartered in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Let's look at their financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. And free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. They did have positive free cash flow in 2021, 100 million. Then negative in 2022. Back to positive, their best year, 209 million in 2023. It came down to 62 million in the trailing 12 months. They did have really good margins in 2021, 39%, but now their margins are down to 4% in the trailing 12 months. Net income is the profit or loss on the income statement. It's revenue minus expenses. That's negative every single time period. Revenue is a sales for the company, and that looks really good, from $250 million to 1.7 billion. A pretty big growth each year. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4, that's 15 billion. We discounted those numbers back to today using the weighted average cost of capital. We got a value of the company of $13 billion. We divide that by 913 million shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $14. They're trading at $24, so they're trading at a 69% premium. It's a sell according to the model. I even grew their free cash flows up to over 800 million by 2027, and it still seems overvalued. What do you think? Do you think it's a buy or a sell? Let me know in the comments. There are 75 companies in the same industry as SYM, and if they have a number in red, they're worse than the median. If they have a number in blue, they're better. They do spend 24 million in capex, equal to the median, lower than the average. They're debt-free, which is nice. They don't pay a dividend. Almost everybody pays a dividend in this industry, excluding them and Generac. They don't generate much free cash flow, only 62 million, the lowest on this list. They do rank 12th in market cap at 22 billion. Eaton is number 1 at 151 billion. They do appear overvalued according to their price multiples, trading at 19 times book value. We can't look at their PE, negative earnings. Price to free cash flow 350 because their free cash flow is so small, and they're trading at 13 times revenue, the worst on this list. They generate 1.7 billion of revenue, the lowest on this list. We can't look at their 5-year annual revenue growth rate. They have not been public that long. And they're trading pretty close to their 52-week low. Could be a good time to jump in. If you put $10,000 into this company when they started trading, you'd be at $23,000 today at 26% annual return. At one point, your $10,000 would have been $55,000. So you probably would not be happy today. So to summarize, I have them trading at a 69% premium. Not too sure about this company. I give them a ranking of 3 out of 10. I think it could be a good short-term trade because they're trading pretty close to their 52-week low, and it seems like a volatile stock. So 5 out of 10, would I buy it short-term? Long-term, not too much faith in this company, 2 out of 10. Pretty weak ratios, 2 out of 10. And revenue looks really good, so that's why I give them financials 8 out of 10. Let's look at their latest 10Q. Here's their income statement. Second quarter of 24, second quarter of 23. Revenue did grow a lot from 311 million to 492 million. Most of their revenue is systems, 472 million. Software and maintenance, 3.5 million. Operation services, 16 million. All are up from last year. Let's see if they give a different breakdown of the revenue. Almost all their revenue is in the US, very little in Canada, under 1 million. Their total revenue is up 58% when you compare it to the second quarter of 2023. Systems up 56%, but the other two segments more than doubled from last year. The reason they grew systems revenue 170 million was due to 39 deployments. So 39 new customer deployments, compared to 33 in second quarter of 2023. The increase in deployments is due to the master automation agreement. Pursuant to that agreement, we are installing and implementing our system within all Walmart's 42 regional distribution centers. That's a great customer to have, Walmart. You could spend the rest of your life just working on Walmart. They can provide you so much business. We expect the master automation agreement to continue to generate systems revenue as we install and implement the systems at the remaining regional distribution centers through 2028. That's a 3-year runway of revenue just at Walmart. The increase in software maintenance and support revenue is due to 21 system sites operational and under software maintenance and support contracts. That's compared to 10 last year. And operation services is up to 16 million. Let's see what they say about that. The increase in operation services is attributable to an increase in system sites where we are performing operation services. The increase in operation services revenue is attributable to an increase in system sites where we are performing operation services. The results from the number of deployments and spare parts sales. This results from the number of deployments and spare parts sales to our customers. For the trailing 9 months, systems revenue $1.2 billion, up 62%, software maintenance and support $8.3 million, up 85%, and operation services $46 million, up 104%. So their total revenue for the trailing 9 months is up 64%. Let's look at the cost of revenue to figure out their margins. In order to generate the $470 million of revenue, it cost them $408 million. So not the best margins, but it's decent. To generate $3.5 million of maintenance and support, it cost them $2.5 million. Operation services, $16 million of revenue, $14 million of costs. So gross profit is revenue minus cost of revenue, $67 million. R&D expenses, $45 million, SG&A, $48 million. So total operating expenses, $93 million. Their operating expenses are higher than their gross profit, so they have a loss, an operating loss of $25 million. Last year was a loss of $42 million, so they're getting closer to break even. They had $11 million of other income. Let's see if they tell you what that is. Last year, other income was $3 million, now it's $11.6 million, up 300%. This was due to higher interest earned on invested cash balances. So that's just the interest they earn on the cash that's sitting in their bank. Because I think they're debt-free, so they don't have to pay any interest on the debt. So their net loss is $14 million, last year $39 million, and they need funding, so they're diluting shareholders. Last year, 62 million shares outstanding, now 102 million. Let's look at a balance sheet. Current assets, $1.4 billion, current liabilities, $1 billion, so current ratio above 1. They have $870 million of cash, $100 million of accounts receivables. This is how much money other companies owe them when they sell on credit. Most of this is probably Walmart. Unbilled accounts receivables, $160 million. So this is what companies owe them, but they haven't billed them yet. It's considered an asset. They have $132 million of inventory. Of the $132 million, $85 million is raw materials, $47 million is finished goods. So if it's finished goods, they can use their inventory right away. If it's raw materials, they have to do something with the inventory before they can monetize it. They have $81 million of PP&E. Let's see what that is. Most of that is computer software and equipment, $96 million. $7 million of internal use software, and leasehold improvements, $11 million. So the gross value of their PP&E is $115 million. They depreciated $34 million. So the net value is $81 million. A lot more than last year of $35 million. Total assets, $1.6 billion. Last year, $1.1 billion. Liabilities, $1.2 billion. Last year, $1.1 billion. They have $156 million of accounts payable. This is how much money they owe other companies when they buy on credit. $177 million of accrued expenses. This means they incurred an expense but haven't paid it yet. Deferred revenue of $700 million. That's the best liability. This means they received cash for a product or service they haven't provided yet. Another $82 million of deferred revenue. This is in the non-current section. So the $714 million should be billed within the next 12 months. The $82 million should be billed beyond 12 months. Assets minus liabilities equals equity, $379 million of equity. They raised $1.7 billion from selling their business. They lost $1.3 billion from running their business. They don't seem to use debt to finance their business. They're using equity. So they received $1.7 billion of equity. That's from you, the shareholder, if you bought stock. And then they lost $1.3 billion of that running their business. So they have about $420 million left. And once they burn through that, they'll raise more equity or possibly debt. And you can see they have $870 million of cash. So a lot of their equity is sitting in cash. Let's look at the statement of cash flows. This is trailing 9 months. So the first section is operating cash flow. You start with a net loss of $68 million. Operating cash flow is net income or net loss converted to cash, because your net loss is your accounting loss, not actual cash. So you have to add back the non-cash items on the income statement like stock-based compensation, $87 million. You have to adjust for changes in working capital. So they actually generated $41 million of cash by running their day-to-day business. That's pretty good, that cash flow positive. In their investing section, they had a cash inflow of $201 million. That's because they sold a lot of marketable securities. So they bought marketable securities in the past, which is a cash outflow. Right here, you can see last year, they spent $301 million on marketable securities. Those securities matured, and they received $340 million. They purchased $22 million of PP&E, last year $20 million. In their financing section, they raised $258 million from selling common stock. They raised $159 million from selling warrants. Warrants are like long-dated options. Warrant is also rock banned in the 80s and 90s. If you have a warrant on you, a cop can use that as probable cause to take you to jail. Let's look at Simply Wall Street. Its last price, 22 billion market cap, down 34% in the past week. Wow. Down 57% in the past year. Double wow. It looks like this is a SPAC because the price was $10 for several months. Once the SPAC acquires a private company, then the stock price shoots up. It got up to 64 in mid-2023. I'm sure you felt foolish if you bought it then. It did fall to 18, but it has not come down below its SPAC price. A lot of SPACs come down to like $1 or $2. From September 2024, it doubled from September 2024 18 to a week ago at 39. But then it came way down to 24. Why did it come down so much? The main reason was the filing delay. I remember reading this on their website that they're going to delay their annual filings, which is not a good sign. Not only did they say they need more time to provide their financials, they also lowered sales guidance. It looks like they made some mistakes on their prior financials, and they're going to have to restate previous quarters. And they discovered additional errors related to cost overruns that will not be billable on certain deployments, which affected revenue from prior quarters. The impact of this will lower revenue, lower gross profit, and that could hurt their bottom line by $30 to $40 million. Their previous revenue guidance was $495 to $515 million. Now they revised it down to $480 to $500 million. They mentioned Walmart is one of their customers, also an investor. Shares went up in 2023 by 300%. Now they're down 50% this year. Simply Wall Street's valuation is 47. They say the stock is 49% undervalued. 16 analysts priced this stock at 41. They say it's really undervalued. Their revenue in 2021 was $300 million. A year later, $700 million. That's for 2022. Then $1.3 billion in 2023. $1.8 billion in 2024. The forecast for 2025, $2.4 billion. 2026, $3.1 billion. 2027, $3.6 billion. Do you think it's going to hit these revenue targets? Seems a bit aggressive to me. And there are actually 3 analysts that say $3.6 billion. I wonder if those 3 analysts work for Walmart. This chart goes back to 2019. Their revenue was as low as $100 million back then. They've always been debt-free. In terms of equity, it was negative in 2020, 2021, and part of 2022. Then it became positive in 2022, a small negative in 2023. Now it's higher than ever, $420 million of equity. But they have more cash than equity. You would think that's a great thing, but you don't invest in companies so they sit on cash. You invest in companies so they provide a product or service and generate profits. Nobody buys this stock, even insiders. They're all selling. Look at all these sells. Well over 3 million insider shares have been sold in the past 12 months. Not one purchased. 77% of the companies owned by institutions, 14% by public companies, and 8.7% by venture capital and private equity firms. Masayoshi Son's SoftBank is the biggest shareholder at 38%, Walmart 15%, the British investment firm Baillie Gifford 14%, SB Investment Advisors, SB stands for SoftBank, 9%, Frontier Capital, Exchange Traded Concepts, Raymond James, B of A, Geode. Their employee count went from 1,100 to 1,300, and the ticker trades on the NASDAQ and Mexican Bolsa. So if you want to learn how to build a discounted cash flow model in Excel, just watch this video over and over, and even email me. I'll send you a copy for free, but you have to watch the video at least 10 times.